Hello and welcome to What's on My Mind with Fiona. I'm your host, Fiona Kane. Today I'm going to talk about the biggest news at the moment, which is the US election. So today it's the day after the election, and Donald Trump won. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why I'm happy about that, because I know that such strong emotions on both sides, and it's all gotten a bit crazy. And I know that people who, because of the type of person I am and the type of work I do, it's about having compassion and caring about people and that kind of thing. And so people often sort of think they think, oh, they're quite surprised that someone who is about compassion could actually vote for someone as hideous as Donald Trump. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that and my perceptions of this. Now, first of all, look, from a politics point of view, people, you have your own opinions. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just talking about my opinions in regards to this. And there are certainly people who have more tendencies towards a sort of socialist way of things and other people who are a bit more conservative and everything in between. So, yeah, you do you, that's fine. But what I've noticed in the last kind of, what has it been now since he won in 2000, so it's 8 years since he won the first time around. And when he first won, everyone was going on about, oh my God, the world's going to come to an end. We're going to have World War III. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. And that's when I was listening to a lot of the mainstream media. So I was quite concerned. And I just remember having these conversations with friends saying, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that he's won, but I'm a bit scared because the media is saying all these things. And so I was just I was in two minds. I didn't really know that much. And I kind of knew him from, I didn't know him that well, but I kind of knew he was this kind of, uh, you know, big personality in New York and on the, I think was it Celebrity Apprentice and that sort of thing. So I was just kind of aware of him with that stuff. But the media was saying all these terrible things. And I personally think, though, from everything I observed from here in Australia, I'm not American. I don't have any say in any of this anyway. I can't vote. uh, he seemed to be a really good president. There were no new wars started while he was president. He has good relationships with people like the leaders in North Korea and Russia. And it's weird because people say, "Oh, he's buddy buddy with them." It's called diplomacy. Our leaders actually have to be able to speak to other leaders who are very different to them. So there's nothing wrong with them being able to have conversations and being able to negotiate. And in actual fact, I think his years of negotiating in New York, the building industry in New York for so many years, where I don't know, there's a mafia and other sorts of things going on there. I think that actually sort of stood him in good stead because people who know how to negotiate can be really good at these things, and especially people who know like they kind of can have the poker face. You don't know what they're going to do next, and I think that was actually really important for keeping people like the North Korean, what's it, Kim Jong. It's not Kim Jong Il anymore. Kim Jong Un. I can't remember now, but keeping that person and also Putin and in Russia, I think one of the things that sort of kept them at bay to a certain degree was that they didn't know what he would do, and now that now that there's not a strong president in the White House, and you, well, in my opinion, they've had someone in the White House who's clearly had dementia for a lot of years, and I think he's probably got Parkinson's. He's got the Parkinson's walk, and dementia comes along with that. For some people, clearly that's what's been going on for him, and that's not frightening. What's frightening in a different way? It is frightening because he's got the nuclear codes, but it's not frightening in that other nations are threatened. In actual fact, I think that other nations have seen there's been a weakness and they've taken advantage of that. And and look, there's a lot of things that you can say about Trump, and a lot of them are true. And he's a very flawed personality, and he doesn't like taking no for an answer, which is again good thing, bad thing. But it's good in some ways. It's good when that person's representing your country. It's bad in other situations. And the good thing, though, the thing about Trump is that we know who he is because he's been around for long enough that we've actually seen him and seen him perform. And the bad things, well, I'm not going to marry him. So between him and his wife, all those other whatever, that's not, he's president, not you're not sort of going to marry the guy. So I think that when I question about who's going to be a better prime minister or president or whatever the thing is, what I think about is policies. Now, obviously, you do think of the person's who they are as a person, but essentially it's like, is who they are as a person on balance going to be a good thing or bad thing for the country? And in my opinion, it's a good thing, because the fact that he's a bit uncertain of which direction he'll go in, the fact that he's very good at negotiating, and the fact that he's good at talking to anybody. That's the thing, he's actually more relatable to the everyday man than a lot of the Democrats are. And it's quite funny, because they're supposed to be the party of the people, but they're so not. And he's this big billionaire that's always had a silver spoon in his mouth, and he's really relatable to the everyday person. He's just got that gift, and he's really good at just talking to people and negotiating with people and creating lots of relationships. And life is about creating lots of relationships, and governing is a huge thing about creating lots of relationships. So I'm glad that someone like him is there to do that. Um, Also, this time, I think last time on Rogan, he said he didn't think he was going to win. Well, this time he's had time to plan for it, and he's got a good team around him. And he's got an amazing team. Like, I'm really glad that RFK is in there. I hope he doesn't let him anywhere near the environment, but I don't think he plans to. But he's certainly going to, and from a point of view of destroying the fossil fuel industry and things like that, because I think he's a little bit crazy on the climate change thing. However, he's really good for the most part on the health thing, and we need a lot of changes there, big pharma and all that sort of stuff. So I'm great that he's got RFK in. Tulsi Gabbard, she's great. I don't know if she's going to play a role. She certainly was involved in helping him get in, and very intelligent woman who seems to be just really strong and good value. I don't know a lot about her, but what I have seen so far, I really like. I mean, Elon Musk, again, people who are high achievers, busy people who are high achievers, uh, great to have them on the team. And so I really like the fact that he's going to be involved. I think JD Vance is amazing, and he has come. The good thing is actually too, he came from nothing and built himself up, whereas Trump sort of the opposite. And that's and although people sort of say he was given everything, still you can be given everything and still destroy it all. So the fact that he got a lot but also created a lot, is very good. But that said, it's quite good, because you've got those two different types of people and personalities, and he can see that sort of stuff. And Vivek Ramaswamy, he's amazing, and he's also just really, really sensible and has different kinds of experience, and I think there's another woman in the team. I can't remember her name, but anyway, he's got a team around him of all different interesting people, and they're different races and different backgrounds and different beliefs and different everything, which is actually really, really good, because that's true diversity. True diversity is when you get a team of people who are kind of, strong and have, essentially have the same idea about improving things and getting things done, but they do it from their unique perspectives, or they've got the unique background. That's great. It's not kind of like just saying, oh, we've got one person this color, one person that color, one person this, one person, yeah, tick the box sort of thing, right? I don't like diversity for diversity's sake. I love diversity though when it's diversity of backgrounds, opinions, whatever, and it makes things better. But not when you're just doing a tick box and you're bringing in the person who maybe isn't the best person. Sometimes that the diverse person is the best person, absolutely. Sometimes they're not. But it's not about sort of just ticking boxes. So I love the team he has, and I've been listening to his agenda. Countries need borders, and it's not an anti-immigration thing. America's always been really supportive of immigration. It's the place it is because of immigration. It's just countries should actually be allowed to control that and choose who comes into their country, and that's completely fair. So having a border, having control of your immigration and choosing who comes in the country, and choosing the speed at which that happens, so that it happens in a way that works, that's beneficial for your country rather than bad for your country. Great idea. And everyone going on about abortion, that's gone back to the states in the US, so it's not even a federal issue now. So everyone's sort of all these women dressing like Handmaid's Tale, that kind of thing, and saying he's going to do all this Handmaid's Tale. Sometimes he's not going to do any of that. He's just not. And kind of look at what's going on in Pakistan and Iran at the moment, and reassess whether or not you think you're living in the Handmaid's Tale. You can't. I think where people are putting their energies at the moment, is the wrong place. And also, then it's those same women who are dressing in those Handmaid's Tale kind of outfits are the same people that would say that it's okay for men to be in women's sports, and it's okay for that you can't define what a woman is, because anyone who thinks they're a woman is a woman and all that. So it's quite funny. These people are all about the Handmaid's Tale. They're often the same people that are inviting in this gender ideology and destroying women's safe spaces, sports, and all those kinds of things. And that's also why I support Trump, because all of the people, everyone who was that I mentioned before, including Trump, they've all kind of said, okay, no men in women's sports, and you've got to have women's safe spaces and that kind of thing. And the way I see it, I support a president or a prime minister or whoever it is, elected official, who knows what a woman is, right? So first of all, they have to know what a woman is and be able to define it as an adult human female. And secondly, people who are not going to be transing the children and people who are going to protect children. Now, for me, that could just be I could just choose based on that. I feel if you're not going to protect the children and if you don't know what a woman is, then I'm not going to vote for you. So that's my starting point is, if we can't go past go, if that's not right. So it's quite funny because they're making out Trump to be really anti-women. There's nothing anti-women about his policies. And, he said a few crass things, whatever, big deal. And look, the other thing too is I'm not going to argue about all the court cases and stuff like that, but the fact that they all of a sudden they had to charge him with all of these things when he was going for president again, and they were afraid that he would win, tells you a lot. The timing tells you a lot. Changing laws so that people who claim he sexually assaulted them or something 30, 40 years, and now changing the rules so that like the statute of limitations, so that the person can go after him now. Interesting timing. And that person goes on the telly talking about, oh, what are we going to spend the money on? Let's go shopping after, and it's supposed to be about a sexual assault. And essentially, in my opinion, if you look at all of the presidents, I don't think there's any president that you couldn't actually put in prison based on different things that they've done or dodgy dealings or whatever. I think every president's had flaws, in whether it be in regards to women, look at Clinton, right? Both of the Clintons in different ways have been involved in dodgy stuff. Biden, the Hunter Biden laptop, which has been verified. People tell me it hasn't. It has absolutely been verified. Look, there's things with all of them. And to be honest, Trump could have put Hillary in prison, and when he got in, and he didn't. Or he could have certainly tried, because there's things that she had been doing, and he could do the same thing with Biden now. I doubt that he will, but he could. So I think that once presidents in the US history, that's never happened before. This is the first time they've used lawfare. And I think the problem with that is now the precedent is set that, no president can feel safe that they can just go on and do their job, because they know that essentially the next person who takes over will use lawfare against them and try and put them in prison, right? And so once you set that precedent, the Democrats kind of thought it was fine and dandy to use it, but what if it gets used against them? They might not like it so much. So I think that's a bad road to go down, unless someone's obviously there's exceptions, but in general, it's a bad road to go down because they're all fairly flawed and got different things in their background. So I don't think Trump is alone in having any sort of dodgy things in his background. But a lot of the things he was I've listened to a lot of lawyers talk in detail about all of the charges and things. A lot of it was just made up stuff. Just they're trying so hard to get him, stop him from being elected. And it wasn't really about fair process, because he was such an evil person. It was, they are afraid of him, and that's also why I like him, because essentially, because he is so wealthy and so already such a self-made person, and he doesn't need the presidency. he can't be bought in the way that a lot of other people have been bought on the way through. So those people, those sort of what they call the smompies that have been in Washington for 40 years, and those people, they've been. I'm sure a lot of them have been compromised over the years, and I'm not saying that Trump's never been compromised in any way. I think all politicians probably, it's to a certain extent, this happens. However, I feel like he's more able to make his own decisions and not be controlled by them, and I think that's why he's hated so much. And, I always get suspicious. Like when I listen to the media, because I heard all the media rhetoric about him the first time, became president, he was perfectly fine. Actually, he was very good. Biden got in and everything went to hell. And the crimes increased, the borders just open with people pouring in, and some of them are criminals. I'm not saying all people that come to a country are criminals, but some are. Countries have enough of their own to deal with without having people coming over the border harming their people. Uh, and but everything's gone to hell since Biden came in. So I think that Trump was quite good. And then in the last few years, that if you see all the videos, there's all videos of all the ladies on The View being absolutely besties with Trump when it served them, and Oprah being absolute besties with him. She was actually encouraging him to run for president and talking to him about it, all this sort of stuff. And then when it doesn't serve them, then they have to turn him into this evil orange man. And there is a real Trump derangement syndrome is real, and people have gone absolutely nuts about it. Not liking someone, not agreeing with their policies, fine, but he is not Hitler. He's not a fascist or any of those things. And in my opinion, the things that the left are attacking him for, they're all things they're doing themselves. They're the ones doing lawfare. They're saying he's going to do lawfare. Well, they're the ones doing lawfare. They say he's being fascist. Well, they're the ones acting like fascists. And they say that he's, look, all the things. Oh, hang on. I accidentally pressed a button on my phone and I'm sending a message with all of these words. I just had to hang on. Oops. Yeah. I was going to end up sending this really long message of this to someone. I actually clicked a button on my phone. Oops. Yeah. Look, to me, when I see the media go absolutely batshit crazy, that's when I'm kind of like, I start being suspicious. And I've looked at over this last few years, I've been listening to people on the left and people on the right, and listening to what people think, and listening to the language and things. And yeah, I think the left was so terrified he was going to get in. Because that he is going to upset the apple cart. He absolutely is, because he's ready this time to actually make a difference, to make a good difference, that they just didn't want him to get in there. So they started going absolutely batshit crazy, to the point where he had at least 2, if not more, attempts on his life. And they keep talking about his rhetoric. Well, they're the ones that get being hysterical, saying if he gets in, it's the end of the world. And now there's all these, on TikTok, there's all these crazy people going, oh my God, I don't like, my life might be ruined tomorrow. How? How's it going to be ruined tomorrow? What's he going to, like? First of all, he's not in tomorrow, but honestly, it's they've gotten people revved up into absolute hysteria. When someone gets in, so far in our elections, I know Oprah said you'd never get to vote again. Of course you will. The thing about the US is they've got a lot of checks and balances in place so that people can't become dictators. He can't be a dictator. That's not possible. A lot of things would have to change for that to happen. And in actual fact, and then it's like the misinformation, disinformation. Well, in my experience, it's the crap they're doing in Australia at the moment. The misinformation and disinformation. Well, that's just I don't like them say. What it means is they all own most of legacy media now, and so legacy media is got a very left agenda. The same thing in Australia, the same thing in the UK. They just say what they want them to say, and you actually hear it, because you even see, if you see the run sheets from that the Democrats or whatever put out to the media to say this is the talking points. The media actually just go with all the talking points, just straight up, and use all the same language, everything. So you see that they are owned largely by legacy media is largely left, and what they mean when they talk about misinformation and disinformation is they mean people like Joe Rogan, they mean people like Dan Bongino, they mean people like Megyn Kelly, and that's because people like that actually are independent and they can have a balanced conversation, which they do and they can, but they don't like that because they can't control it. They want to be dictators and control a narrative, and they don't like it when other people say something different. You don't want a world in which you can't have a different opinion. That is when it becomes a dictatorship. So all that misinformation and disinformation stuff, that just means we don't like it. And actually, that all comes from when Konstantin Kisin talks about this. It's really worth reading his book or listening to his book. Um, Immigrants Love Letter to an Immigrant's Love Letter to the West, I think it's called, and his name is Konstantin Kisin. Really good book, and he's originally from Russia, and he just talks about how political correctness, where it came from. Well, it came from Russia, so essentially it was oh, that may be correct, but it's not politically correct. So we're not going to say that. Otherwise, you're going to end up in the gulags. You're going to end up disappearing forever. So that's where that came from, right? So misinformation and disinformation is just another way of saying the same thing, right? So we need to have free speech, which is why I'm so glad that Elon Musk bought Twitter. I think that actually changed this election as well. But essentially, I think Trump has actually really good intentions for improving America's if the what's brain put your brain, this is my third podcast I've done in a row, my brain's starting to fry. Improving the financial status of the US and doing more homemade things there, and essentially all things to make them a thriving economy. And people say, oh, capitalist, blah blah blah, but that actually works for everybody, because if you have a thriving economy, that's good for everybody in the economy, right? So it's not a bad thing. And it helped to make things more affordable and all of those things. And he's got RFK looking at the health stuff. I think he's going to have Musk look into sort of saving money. And also, he is really good at negotiating with people. So hopefully he can negotiate and support peace to happen in the world more than the wars that are happening at the moment. So I actually feel really positive about Trump getting in. I actually think there's lots of good changes that are going to happen, and I feel really positive about it. And he's is he perfect and whatever? No, but is he the devil incarnate? No. And if anyone's convinced you of that, I would say that well, you can believe what you want. It's up to you, but it causes a lot of stress when we believe that sort of stuff. And when the media over and over tries to paint a certain picture of someone, be really wary of that. The other thing too that they're trying to say, because the Democrats just don't seem to ever be able to say, okay, we're doing this crazy stuff and we're transing the kids and we're all this crazy stuff that we're doing, and we've become elites and we don't really care about the everyday person. Then we tell them that they're stupid and that they should vote the way we tell them to. They never seem to learn that it's anything to do with them. It's always somebody else's fault. And I hear that today that they're saying that Kamala didn't get in because of her color or because she's a female. It's got nothing to do with any of those things. I'm not saying there's no one that votes that way, because there's always going to be people who do vote that way. She didn't get in because she didn't have any policies, and her policies that she did have were BS. She only spoke in word salads. She wouldn't be real and be honest. You could tell that she was just kind of making it up and playing around with the words and using the same words over and over and just not answering the question. She said that she had the same policies that she did from 5 years ago, when they were all quite hard left-wing extreme policies, like communist style policies. And then she said, oh, I haven't changed my values. Oh, but I'm not going to do those things. And then she said that she was involved in all the decisions along with Biden, and she was involved with them all, and that she was all part of that, and she was really important in those decisions. And then she said, oh, he's different to me, I'll do different things. And then she was given the opportunity several times by friendly media who were trying to help her to say, okay, so what would you do different to Biden? And that was her chance to say, well, okay, well, Biden's done these things and I agree with this, but I could have done that better, whatever, like a self-reflective thing, and then say, okay, so what I would do different is this. But she said, nothing, can't think of anything. and she ran on like Brat Summer and Joy. What, Joy? Just because she said the word joy that makes joy. Like, I think joy comes from having a healthy society, healthy economy, not having wars and things like that. So I think someone who actually makes a difference to the actual country itself creates joy, not just someone who just says the word joy, right? I said the word joy. Are you joyful now? And then she said the word joy, and she was doing Brat Summer, and then then they came in with the hard line Hitler, 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 Hitler thing for the last few months because they started getting really desperate. So it wasn't very joyful, the joy. I didn't feel the joy. But she just was running on nothing. She was running on nothing. And she also wasn't in any way, she didn't go through any primaries. She wasn't actually voted into that position. She was placed in that position. And so it's got nothing to do with her colour or her being a female. I mean, we had our first female Prime Minister in Australia, Julia Gillard, and what a disappointment she was. She's the one that cancelled women. She removed us from the Sex Discrimination Act. So I don't believe in voting in a woman just because. Now, Kemi Badenoch in the UK, I think she'd make a great prime minister, and she is a woman who just happens to have dark skin and happens to be a woman. Now that's where voting for a woman with dark skin is a really good idea, but it's not because she's a woman or because she has dark skin. It's because she's amazing, right? So it's just you know. Anyone who's saying it's only about her color or about the fact that she's a woman, stop with all of this identity politics. Honestly, it's just got to be who is the best person for the job, and the best person for the job. Sometimes there's lots of flawed personalities, and there usually is. To get to the point where you are the president or the prime minister or whatever, takes certain personalities, and you have to sort of believe in yourself for a certain way, and you can be a bit arrogant or this or that or whatever. But the question is, what do they do? And if you look at the history of what Trump has done in the past, he's done a lot of good things. And I think he'll do a lot more when he's able to do it because he'll have the good people with him this time and he won't have his hands tied behind his back like he did last time. So I think he will do a lot of good. Hey, if he doesn't, I'll eat my words. But at this point, I think he'll do a lot of good. I think that she didn't have really any policies, and I think she was very extreme in their kind of communist type way, and she would have gone in that direction. And I don't. And look, if someone can't actually if you can't have a conversation with someone and they can't just genuinely answer their feelings about things and their answers to things, I'm very suspicious about that. If you talk to sort of Trump or JD Vance or Vivek or Tulsi, any of those people, you can have long conversations with them, like as Joe Rogan did, on all different things. And the thing is, when you have real conviction about things and you have certain values and whatever, that just comes out and you can easily answer that stuff, right? She just was not able to do that. If she didn't have the lines given to her, she couldn't answer it. And I don't trust that person because that person is not telling me their values and what they're going to do. They're just telling me some line that's written for them. So anyway, that is why I would have voted for Trump if I had the choice to, and why I think he'll make a good president. I think all the people who are going hysterical, look, I respect that it's disappointing for some people and some people don't like him, but really calm the farm, if for no other reason, just like, well, it's up to you what you do. But I think for your own mental health, it would be a good idea to calm the farm. He's been around for a long time. He's been well known for a long time. And he's been president before. We've seen what he has done, and it's not sort of evil and bad. Anyway, that's my opinion for what it's worth. Oh, and by the way, just a quick note at the end here as a reminder that the boxer in the Paris Olympics, who I said at the time was most likely had DSD, difference in sex. What's it stand for? I can't remember now, but anyway, it used to be called intersex. It's now called DSD, different sex disorder or something. I said that, what's his name, Emain Khalif. I said he was a man, and I said most likely he was a man who was born with sex organs that were like a bit, you couldn't really tell if he was a boy or a girl, so they guessed that he was a girl based on where he was from, which I think is Algeria, if I remember right. They probably didn't do tests and things there like they do in other places. And so he was called a girl, but then he went through a male puberty, very clearly went through a male puberty. You can tell by looking at someone who's gone through a male puberty. And so I said he had DSD and most likely had all of the male testes, and he was making testosterone and all of that. I was absolutely torn apart by some people for that, and people telling me I should apologise because he, who they call she, has a birth certificate. I mean, we've got self ID these days, so anyone can have a birth certificate that says they're whatever sex these days in many countries. But also, they thought I believe in his country. They probably did believe he was a girl, and they probably did bring him up as a girl when he was younger. I think that's true, but it was very clear once he went through puberty that he was not a girl. Anyway, the report has come out. I very clearly knew well before the events, but the report has come out that he's definitely XY. He definitely has testes and is making testosterone, and so he definitely is a man. But he's a man who has DSD, and but still, that means he is a man and should not be competing against women. So he should be giving back his medal, and he should not be allowed to be punching women for sport in the Olympics or anywhere else, in my opinion. So anyway, I was proven right there. I had all these people say, you should apologize. Why should I apologize? He's a man punching women. Like, that is not okay. We go out and march in the streets about that. But when it's the Olympics and when it's someone with DSD, and now, like, I'm sure the next thing people will say, oh, it doesn't matter that he's really XY because, like, he believes he's a woman and that's all that you have to do. No, he's a man. Shouldn't be in women's sports. Full stop. Which is why I think that the Republicans will be better at the moment in in the presidency. The left, which used to be really kind of fair and about the average man and all that sort of stuff, well, they've lost their ever loving minds. Well, a percentage of them have the ones that are in charge of things, and until they calm down, at the moment, I believe that the US is in safer hands in the Republican Party. Anyway, we'll see what happens. That's my opinion. Anyway, I will talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.